Good afternoon, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you, all councillors, officers and members of the public viewing this meeting on the Council's YouTube channel. Today, this is Avon Pension Fund Investment Panel, and my name is Councillor Sean Stevenson-McGaw, and I'm Chair of the panel. I will now call out the names of the other members of the panel and ask them to confirm that they are here present. Councillor Paul Cosley.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Chris Dando.
Present.
John Finch.
Present.
And many happy returns today.
Thank you.
Pauline Gordon, sorry.
Present.
Don't know where Johnson came from then. Shirley Marsh-Hughes.
Present.
Thank you very much, everyone. So everyone is here today. Can I remind everyone to keep their background noise to a minimum, only to speak one person at a time and not to speak over other colleagues. Please mute your microphone when you're not speaking and unmute yourself when you're invited to speak. If you do wish to speak, please can you indicate in the Zoom chat facility by typing "May I speak MIS" and I will call you in turn to speak. Before we move on, I just thought, given since our last meeting, the United Kingdom has hosted the COP26 comment. I just thought it'd be useful just to summarise what actions we are taking as Avon Pension Fund to ensure, as we address the needs of our members, ensuring that we have the funds to pay them their pensions in future, as we also address the climate emergency. I'm encouraged by the commitments made across constituencies and sectors and national jurisdictions as part of COP, including action on coal, vehicles, finance and nature. And I see a lot of these pledges as I reflect upon the work of Avon Pension Fund. Whilst the wording around coal proved contentious, it was heartening to see that 23 countries have made new commitments to the phasing out of coal, including 5 of the top 20 coal-using countries. As a fund, we have recently made a significant decision to realign our equity portfolios. We are moving over £500 million of our assets into a Paris-aligned fund, which is designed to divert capital away from carbon-intensive sectors and companies and reward those who are well positioned for the transition. This includes the complete exclusion of coal and tar sands companies, as well as companies whose primary business function relates to the exploitation, extraction and distribution of fossil fuels. And this will ultimately see us reduce our carbon emissions by 7% each year in line with the 2050 net zero trajectory. Countries also committed to scale up on clean power and ensure a just transition away from coal. These moves are collectively expected to transition approximately $18 billion a year in funding from fossil fuels towards clean energy transition. We in Avon are playing our part in providing the capital that is so critically needed to scale up those flows of low carbon finances. Our £380 million commitment to renewable infrastructure has and continues to ensure and enable investment in traditional and emerging forms of renewable energy. COP also saw the Glasgow Finance Alliance for Net Zero announce that capital commitments to net zero by 2050 now stand over $130 trillion. Included within this staggering statistic are the Paris-aligned asset owner group, which this fund belongs to. This framework commits us not only to achieve net zero emissions by 2050, but also to deliver significant reductions in emissions in the interim. To that end, we have recently adopted 2 new decarbonisation objectives, which will see the fund reduce absolute emissions by 43% by 2025 and by 69% by 2030. Recognising the importance that these commitments are backed up by tangible action, we have already agreed to divest over £280 million from emerging market companies, which will produce an immediate reduction in the fund's emissions by 28%. Exiting regions where this means we are exiting regions where wholesale policy shifts are more difficult to achieve. The proceeds will instead be invested in a broad range of climate and environmental solution providers, as well as companies that contribute to social sustainability. As an advocate for increased transparency in climate disclosures, I welcome the steps that taken at COP by UK policymakers to mandate the publication of net zero transition plans and to build upon sustainability reporting initiatives, including the recommendations for the Task Force for Climate-Related Disclosures, financial disclosures. The fund will publish its first TCFD report before the end of this year, and last month submitted its first report under the revised 2020 FRC Stewardship Code. Our members are quite rightly very interested in what we are doing to manage climate risk within the fund. And over the last 6 months, we have increased communications with members by utilising social media and connecting with our members directly. This month saw the launch of our first ESG members survey, the results of which will be used to inform our future strategy on climate. COP26 has succeeded in catalysing a broad range of ambitious commitments. However, issues remained on how these pledges are now going to be implemented, monitored and reported. And as such, the role for Avon Pension Fund and its strategic partners remains as critical as ever. We will continue to collaborate, engage with companies to accelerate progress towards net zero and continue to advocate for supportive policies which help the environment, which will facilitate change, ultimately for the benefit of our members. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for all of you for helping us achieve all of that things, whether you're members of the committee, our officers and our advisors. I think we've been making grand progress over the years, and I do believe, you know, we are definitely moving in the right direction. So thank you all. Item 2 on the agenda is apologies for absence and substitutions. I don't believe there are any, Mark? No?
No, Chair, no.
Thank you very much. Item 3 is declarations of interest, and I don't believe we've received any. Item 4 is any urgent business agreed by the chair. None. Item 5, items from the public to receive deputation statements or petitions. We have not received any. Item 6 is items from councillors and co-opted and added members. We have not received any. So our first item on the agenda substantive is item 7, which are the minutes from the 17th of September, both the public and exempt. Can I ask someone to move that they are a correct record of the proceedings, please?
Happy to propose that, Chair.
Thank you very much.
I'm happy to second it now.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dando and Councillor Crossley. Thank you very much. Item 8 on the agenda is an item on our infrastructure portfolios, and I believe, Liz, you will introduce this report.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So this report's for noting only. Originally, we had hoped that we'd be talking about the Cycle 3 Brunel private market portfolios, but they're not quite ready. So that's now going to be discussed at the February meeting. So this is just a further report on one of our legacy mandates that still falls outside the Brunel assets, and that's our infrastructure portfolio. And this paper just explores how we could, if we wanted to, transfer the assets into the pool, into Brunel over time. And it is for discussion at this stage. But it does obviously refer to the Brunel's potential portfolios that they might be offering for Cycle 3. And at this stage, Mercers aren't recommending we take any action. So, as I say, also discuss are the Brunel potential portfolio, infrastructure portfolio for Cycle 3. At this stage, we have no changes to our strategic asset allocation. So when it comes to February, we're not expecting to do any dramatic allocations to the private markets. It'll be merely a question of what should we do to retain our current strategic allocations, because what we've committed to those cycles is a monetary amount, but over the years, obviously our assets have grown, and so therefore we're behind on strategic allocations. So that's what we'll be considering in February. Exempt Appendix 2 is actually the scoping paper that Brunel put to the client group for discussion earlier this month. It's only for reference only, because obviously neither ourselves nor Mercers can necessarily answer any questions on it, because it's Brunel's information. But when we are in exempt, if there are any questions, we can try and help, try and answer them, or at least put them into perspective in terms of what to expect for Cycle 3. So unless there's any questions that people want to ask before we go into exempt, but potentially we can go into exempt.
I'm not seeing anyone at this stage. Therefore, the panel, having been satisfied that the public interest would be better served by not disclosing relevant information, proposes, in accordance with the provisions of section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, that the public should be excluded from the meetings for the item of business because of the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined by paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act as amended. Can I invite a member to propose that, please?
I'm happy to propose that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Crossley.
Second.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dander. Thank you very much. So goodbye to our viewers on YouTube, and unfortunately you won't know when we're coming back, so just stay online and you can watch us as we reappear in